If you're a car guy or a car gal, chances are that you spend the first Saturday of every month at your local Cars and Coffee. Well, that's no different than us. Recently, Paul, TFL's new pro driver and former Top Gear stunt driver, and myself, spent the morning checking out some of the most badass, some of the coolest, some of the most unique, and some of the most unusual cars that happen to show up at Colorado's Cars and Coffee.
Well, that's the truth with $400,000, $500,000 cars. Yeah,
And
not in this country.
And the other thing about Aventadors is the Hellcat actually has more horsepower. Unlike many Cars and Coffees, this is a very mellow one, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think everyone's pretty well behaved here, and it's also a super eclectic mix of cars where you have some are like import cars, exotic cars, and some are tuner cars. And this one you kind of get a lot of everything, which is what I really enjoy about it.
Yeah, I think right here demonstrates that because we've got a Volkswagen Carmagia next to, I think that's a what is that? What is that next to it?
Ford Shogun.
Yeah, look at that.
So this is the SHO motored mid-engined Ford Festiva.
It's an 89. I can see by by the brochure.
Number 5. So it didn't get all the bugs sorted out by then. This one's probably got some issues.
Were these even imported here?
No, they were built in the U.S.
Right.
So it was a guy that came and built these, and it was sort of like the Renault R5 Turbo 2.
Yep.
So it was kind of like an homage to a rally homologation special that was done by dropping the SHO motor in a Fiesta. So it's kind of a cool little car.
So here, tearing it up. So we've got we got the info on it. It's got a Ford SHO motor.
Yeah.
5-speed transmission, 3-liter. Probably puts out, if I remember right, these things put out about 200.
It's like 220 or something like that.
Yeah. But the cool thing about it is, of course, that the motor is over the
in the
rear
middle.
wheels. Yeah.
And from what I understand, what I remember about reading about these things is they never really sorted the handling, and they were really diabolical. So a lot of snap oversteer.
Yeah.
So sort of the very thing you'd want the car to be good at, they sort of weren't that good at. But a cool car nonetheless. Definitely a cool find at a Cars and Coffee event.
Base price $48,000 in 1990.
Yeah.
Yeah. 250 unit production run, and check this out, man. It's 0 to 60 5.3 seconds, quarter mile 13s.
Yeah, for 89, that was ripping fast.
That was pretty good.
Ripping fast.
If your license plate says Rich, you're probably not. All right, dude, so over here we have what is basically a Resto-mod Land Rover Defender.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The idea behind this is they're bringing them in, if they're 25 years old, you can import them, but the problem is, of course, if they're over 25 years old, they're kind of ratty. So what they're doing is a company in England, from what I understand, is actually going through these things, kind of redoing them all. It's got that Buick, remember that engine?
Yeah.
That was originally from a Buick, that 215 cubic inch V8. That ended up in all the British product over there, and stuff they imported back here. So that all aluminum V8. So they've redone the whole car, and you can buy it like as a new vehicle.
Yeah, only 150K.
Okay.
And Ralph Champere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a little more Saudi Arabia than Colorado, looking at the color. if I'm being honest.
Well said. Yeah.
But I noticed they put new brakes on it. New lights. So they have done more than just restore it, right?
Yeah, it looks pretty cool, and so it's just very, very much upgraded. And the headlights, so you got modern headlights and like a new dash inside, and the seats, the whole inside. So I think it probably drives like a modern car in probably most situations, but it has that cool, retro factor too.
Well, let's keep walking.
We talk about Colorado cars. These and the STIs are probably the ultimate affordable performance cars for this area. That's a 4-season car.
Yeah, once upon a time there was a great rivalry between the Evo and the STI.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Mitsubishi started making well, golf carts.
They really did. They've
Yeah.
kind of made that switch over from being a performance and technology brand from a performance perspective to being, you know, sort of wanting to be the ultra green brand, which you know, good for them. They could have done both, I think, a little longer, couldn't they?
Yeah. I was just at the Denver Auto Show, and they had the Evo FE Final Edition there, and my heart was like, oh, it was $43,000, and I thought to myself, you know, this is the end of a line and end of a dynasty.
Yeah, amazing car, and I've raced Evos for many years, and actually won quite a few championships driving very modified Evos, and I got to work with the guys in Japan, the whole Evo team. There's actually a guy named Dr. Evo that used to be there, that had been with the car since the beginning.
Just like Mr. GTR.
Yeah, through the 4 Tommy Mäkinen World Rally Championships. I mean, it was that guy, and that's why the car was and is so good. And it's a shame that all of that technology and history just kind of went poof.
Yeah,
and they didn't do anything with it.
And what makes it so brilliant is they put it in a Lancer, right? So
yes, well, that's the best part.
Yeah, a hardcore rally car in a passenger sedan.
Yeah, and you drive a base Lancer, it's a horrible little car. It's amazing how good an Evo is relative to the base car.
We gotta go over here because, well, let's skip the Lexus. Fun car, but the one that I'm looking at is, of course, the Jaguar E-Type over here.
Yeah.
Since we came in a Jaguar, I think it's appropriate that we take a look at this. Come on over here. Let's check this guy out. Now, some would say that this is one of the top 10 all-time most beautiful cars ever built.
Yeah, I think it's right in the running. You got like basically a Lamborghini Miura or an E-Type, you know, but even Enzo Ferrari said this is the most beautiful car ever made.
Yeah.
So that's impressive coming from someone that gave out no compliments ever in his whole life to actually admit that.
Yeah, and this car looks a little bit of restoration, but you know, it's still absolutely beautiful.
That's what's cool about it. V12 car, manual trans. So yeah, beautiful car.
All right, Paul, beautiful BMW.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
this is the 6 Series BMW, of course. As it started, this is actually a 2-liter. So what I would say maybe a European model that was brought over. Yeah, with the headlights and everything. But this is an amazing car, and maybe my favorite version of this one. This morphed into the M6, the original M6 that had that wonderful inline 6-cylinder engine, and just a really iconic body style. And of course, the thing you remember about this car, everyone remembers, is the Batmobile version that raced and won many championships in IMSA and also in Europe. So fantastic car. I think that's a very cool car from an investor perspective. Neat car. And of course, what's sitting right next to it?
Yeah, let's look at it right next to it. That's an expensive car, Paul.
Yeah, that's the other end of the Cars and Coffee spectrum. And luckily, driven one of these, one of the best driver's cars that probably has ever been built.
Right?
Yes. And so if you want something that tingles the senses better than anything you could ever drive, it would be this car. Over a Gallardo, over a Huracan, really probably over a 488 is the Speciale. The 9,000 RPM redliner, that wailing, over 600 horsepower, naturally aspirated V8 engine. You can actually do seamless shifts with this thing while it's drifting.
Wow.
And there's not even a drop in the power. It's just so magical to drive this car. So just an amazing car. Great steering feel, great brake feel, perfect driving position. The list goes on and on.
How much, do you know?
Wow, I think these were, I'm going to say at least $350 for a Speciale. Yeah.
Are they going up or down, you know?
They're Ferraris. They don't do that last thing you said. They don't do the down thing. They only do the up thing.
Yeah, they do down.
Yeah, for like 10 minutes. And then everybody goes, what were we thinking? And then they go right back up again.
Yeah, and you know, it's just a beautiful car.
Amazing, yeah. Car, and they drive better than they look. And that's hard to imagine. Yeah.
So Paul, we've got a Ferrari Daytona.
Yeah,
racing Daytona.
Yeah, it looks like it's a car that was raced in some sort of production racing, and just a gorgeous car. I've seen this car here before, and got a full cage in it, and the engine bay, the engine's all modified, and So yeah, this was a factory, some sort of race car back in the day, but a Daytona in itself is an amazing car.
Yeah, many people consider the Daytona the most beautiful of all Ferraris.
Yeah, I think of it as the car that I remember Brock Yates and Dan Gurney did the Cannonball Run in and set the record in Cannonball Run, but a great car. And next to it, of course, this is what I cut my teeth with.
Yeah, tell me about Formula Fords.
This is me in the late 1980s racing in the U.S. and racing in Europe, but yeah, this is sort of the entry level. When you come out of karting as a young and aspiring racing driver, the first thing you do is you jump in a Formula Ford. That's your transition from karting into a real race car. And they weigh a little bit over 1,000 pounds. They usually had a Kent series Ford four-cylinder that only made 120 horsepower, but the things weigh 600-700 pounds. And
it's open
just
wheel.
Real simple, really simple, but amazing racing. You go to Brands Hatch or Silverstone, and you'd have a grid of 60 cars. And on the opening lap, you'd be 6 abreast going into turn 1. And it was insanity. And that's where, all drivers basically aspire to go through. And you do the Formula Ford Festival that's done at Brands Hatch every year. That was the big thing. If you won the festival, you were destined for Formula One. So these starts with these cars.
These are where today's Formula One star started.
Yes, and still even today, these cars are still raced. And more in the vintage, but even the modern Formula Fords haven't really gone that far up in horsepower or grip. It's all just about being a really simple car that gives you that transition from karting to a car. So you start understanding the mass of a car versus a go-kart. And really amazing to drive. Even today, if you jump in one, you'd have a ball.
Can you get Formula One car will pull 4 Gs around a corner.
Yeah.
How much will that pull?
They're about 1.7.
Okay.
So any car, like any mechanical grip car, about 1.7, 1.8 is the maximum. And then once you get aerodynamics, then the number starts going up.
Yeah.
So it's all based on tire, of course, but a modern sticky tire will get you about 1.7, 1.8, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of G.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Look at that.
Yeah, GT500 Shelby that might need valve seals. Or no, actually it looks like maybe it's a little rich. What do you think? That's the other thing about Cars and Coffee.
Both.
You can speculate on all these cars. But a cool car, nonetheless.
Yeah, it is a cool car, and if I were smoking that much, I'd probably not drive it that slowly.
COPD, I think they call it.
So, Paul, this is a Noble.
Yeah.
Which is a British custom-built. It's pretty much a race car for the road.
Yeah, I mean, think of this sort of as a direct competitor to what Lotus does.
Yeah.
Right, in a lot of ways, where it's sort of a bespoke, custom chassis that's, basically all the best geometry you could have in suspension, great braking system, and of course, ultra lightweight. And then chuck a production reliable motor in it, throw a couple turbos on it to give it the power of a supercar, and these things turn lap times that would humble, many a Ferrari or Lamborghini.
How do they drive?
They're really nice, actually. Yeah? I think they drive really, really well. The ones that I have driven, I'll be really honest, haven't been the most reliable cars I've ever driven. I've had issues with them overheating, things like that. Yeah. But when they're working, they're magic.
Let's look at the
Yeah. So it's a Duratec V6.
It's a Duratec V6.
With twin turbos, yeah. And it's, what are they, about 450 horsepower or so?
This one at this altitude is just a tick under 400 to the rear wheel.
Okay, that's pretty healthy at this altitude. Yeah.
2,400 pound car.
Right, yeah.
Make it.
So do the math. That's fast.
So, Paul, this is, I think, another car that's undervalued, the MR2. This one particularly is for sale, right? How much do you want for it? $6,500. Seems a little bit rich, but if it's original, low miles, it's a car that has everything that a car guy would want, right? The engine's in the right place. It's built by the right manufacturer.
Yep.
And they're just a lot of fun to drive.
They're a huge amount of fun to drive. I mean, that mid-engine chassis, super short wheelbase, really agile, really nimble. If you like, in particular, autocrossing, these cars are brilliant at that sort of thing. Just a great little car.
And they built a lot of them, and there's parts available for them?
Yes, yeah, and the parts, of course, came in lots of other Toyotas, so it's easy to find anything for these cars. And it's a great little zingy engine. They rev really high, and so they sound good, feel good. Kind of like the incredibly poor man's version of the Speciale 458. Right.
And actually, these engines in England are put into the Lotus Elise, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To give it that kind of pop because they're turbocharged. It's just a cool car.
Yeah, and you can also put in later engines as well, and that's one of the great things about it.
we were talking about the MR2 and about the Elise, but here's the Exige, right?
Yeah.
Which is the hardtop sort of version of it.
Yeah, and just speaking, like I said, about Lotuses in general, amazing cars to drive. They have the feel, the brake feel, the steering feel, the handling balance, the nuance to the driving that you get out of a Ferrari. And you do it at a much lower price point.
Yeah.
And you do it with, like you said, with more common parts. We have a Toyota engine, so it's actually an affordable car to run. So if you want the best handling car you can buy for your buck, it usually lands right here at something like an Elise or an Exige.
And I love the juxtaposition, right? This is a car that's about lightweight, it's about handling, it's about just getting the most out of a car. And right here is the exact opposite.
Godzilla.
Godzilla, right? Which is a car about electronics, about putting down as much power, but using all the technology that's available today.
So if you were to run these cars on a track day, they'd probably run pretty similar lap times depending on the track. If you had more handling, as this car would be faster. If it had more straightaway, this car would be faster. The whole time, your consumables, what does it cost to run the car? Putting brakes on this car, putting tires on this car, super cheap. Putting that stuff on this car, crazy expensive because of the mass of the car. This is a heavy car.
Yeah, very
so
heavy.
It eats through tires, it eats through brakes, it eats through fuel, it eats through everything to get the same lap time you can get with the Exige that's sipping on all that stuff because it's lightweight. So it's kind of a cool juxtaposition here that you brought up. Perfectly done, by the way, Roman. Where you've got like two very different cars that'll turn a very similar lap time. What's the thing you like doing?
All right, now I got to ask you, if it were your money, which one would you get?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It would depend on the track and which one's faster, because I'm a racing driver.
Yeah.
No, I would go Exige all day long, every day.
Really?
It's a much more enjoyable car to drive.
All right, and I'd go Godzilla just because it's Godzilla.
That's it.
And you can take it on the
You
street.
like crushing cities
Yes.
with your, yes,
With
I
my
get
big
it, I get it. Great car. I mean, I love GTRs. They're super fun to drive. But again, if you were to say which one would you rather drive on a track, it would be the Lotus.
So when I was a wee little kid growing up in Europe, I remember seeing these things all over the place. The BMW Z1, and obviously what made it unique, besides the fact that it's a two-door convertible, is that the doors retract into
Very
the body.
unique.
Yeah.
No other car like it. And pretty neat little car where it's a little two-seater roadster, very lightweight construction on the car, and never imported into the U.S. So pretty lucky to be standing in front of one in the US of A right now.
And I think there are actually 4 of these in Colorado, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing about it is it's one of the first production cars to actually have xenon headlights.
Well, that's cool. And they're always pushing the boundaries and everything. And you see like the i8 that's sitting across the way over there. That's probably derived from a lot of the things they learned building the Z1 many years ago.
And of course the question is, if you were to own this car and one of those doors breaks, where the heck do you get parts for it?
Wow. Yeah, I think this is one you've got to fix yourself, or you've got a very talented. If there are 4 of them, I suspect there might be a guy that works on Z1s around here, or there wouldn't be 4 of them.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Just got to find that guy.
A little like micro economy of cars in Colorado.
You see those little clusters of cars. It's like the Land Rovers and also like the military, the Pinzgauers and things like that. There are people here that work on them, so people will buy them.
Yeah, Pinzgauers, they're here as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it a motorcycle? Is it a car? Is it a hybrid? What is it, Paul? It's a Slingshot.
I can tell you I've driven one of these things, and what it certainly isn't is good to drive.
Oh no!
I know.
He's gonna hate you.
It's so sad, but I drove one. First of all, it runs out of puff at about 70 miles an hour. There's no acceleration at all above that speed, so the aerodynamics of it are not particularly good.
Yeah.
And it also has very little rear grip. Now you kind of laugh about that. You're like, yeah, it has one tire, but all this thing does is it slides at low speeds. That's kind of what it's good at. And first and second gear, you can kind of slide it around. It's got a sequential gearbox. That's kind of cool. And it just loves spinning the tires and drifting. But the thing is, it doesn't, you hear me talk about like forward bite. Like I want a car, if it's going to slide, it needs to drive forward.
Yeah.
This thing just goes sideways. So it likes doing donuts and things.
So during the history of automobiles,
Yes.
right, men have and women have put 4 wheels on cars. We've
Yes.
put 2 wheels on motorcycles.
Yes.
And we've never actually done 3 wheels successfully, whether the 1 wheel's in the back or in the front.
Yeah.
It's always turned out to be a bit of a, well, it's dynamically and mechanically just weird.
It is, and they feel kind of funny to drive. And again, you've got all that grip from the 2 front tires. I like the little Morgan 3-wheeler.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool because it's got skinny tires, and so they've got the grip pretty well balanced front to rear. But this thing's got a lot more grip in the front than it does in the back, and so it just sort of just slides around senselessly.
It's a Diablo! It's a Lamborghini Diablo, and it's blue. What else is there to say about it?
Perfect cars and coffee car. If you're going to show up at Cars and Coffee, make it loud, make it exotic.
Yeah.
And perfect car for that.
There are plenty of other cars here, of course. We only gave you a bit of a taste, but I hope you've enjoyed this Colorado Cars and Coffee. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, more expert race car driver reviews. See you guys next time. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thanks.
Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here at the 2016 North American International Auto Show, and this is a special guest because it's the all-new 2017 Raptor Super Crew. And coming up next, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about its 10-speed automatic transmission, and we're going to talk about its new engine. Just wait until you see what we have in store for you.